Yo, what's up, everybody out there in YouTube? Welcome to the Haunted Basement Studio. I'm your host, Triple B's, and in this video, I am going to talk about Talk to Me. Give me your hand. Talk to me. Let me in. So, this movie is brought to you by A24, and it's a couple YouTubers, brothers, some twins that made this movie. And you know what? They did a pretty damn good job. They have practical effects in it. So this is going to be a spoiler talk. I am just going to talk freely right now. So when I went and sat down and started watching this movie, for some reason it had subtitles. I've never been to a movie theater with subtitles, and I did notice on the ticket it did say it was going to have subtitles, but I've never seen subtitles in a movie theater ever before. But I'm kind of glad that it did, because it was an Australian movie, and so you had that Australian slang, the Australian talk that is totally different from the United States. So that subtitles did help out. And after the first 5 minutes, it didn't bother me at all. I was actually enjoyed the subtitles in it, so it was kind of cool. But I was wondering if it was going to take me out of that experience of trying to fall into a movie, get lost for an hour and a half in that big screen, because you're going to have little subtitles come down on the bottom. So that was kind of strange. All right, man. So the plot of the movie is we are going to follow teenagers in this film. You're going to have a brother and a sister, which the brother, I believe, is like 14, maybe 15. And they have a friend, Mia, which is 17. And she is struggling because she lost her mom 2 years ago. And throughout the movie, it's going to tell you her mom accidentally OD'd on some sleeping pills. But at the very end, not the very end of the movie, her dad reads a note to her, and it pretty much says that her mom committed suicide. And so it kind of has this grief with losing your parent, and then also with suicide in it. That's kind of like where you're going to get a lot of emotions from our main character. But they decide that they're going to go to a party, and what these motherfuckers do in a party, instead of drinking and smoking or whatever, they want to get possessed. Yes, you heard me right. They're going to bring out this, it's an embalm hand. So I know you've seen what this hand looks like. And it's been saran wrap, not saran wrap. It's been ceramic over it, so it's got ceramic all over it. But if you break it, there's a real embalmed hand in there. And I believe they said that this hand was from like a psychic, a medium, or maybe it was like a witch, someone. They said it really fast. So you grab this hand, and what you do is you need to strap yourself down. You got to light a candle to open the door, and then you grab the hand and say, "Talk to me." And then you will see a spirit. You'll see a ghost. And the only person that can see it is the person that's holding that hand. And then when you see that ghost, you say, "I let you in." And then that ghost will come into you. And the rule is you can only have that spirit in you for 90 seconds. And so someone's counting down, and after 90 seconds, they rip the ceramic hand out of your hand, and you're not possessed no more. But when you do get possessed and you come out of it, you get like this completely high off of it. Like you're just ecstatic. You can't believe what just happens. And it makes these people want to go back to that hand and do it again like a drug. But the problem is when you hold that hand for longer than 90 seconds, it will stay with you. The ghost, the entity will stay with you and start haunting you. When you're by yourself in your house, you'll start seeing things that aren't there, that you think are real. Mia held on to this hand too long. And then one night, she is laying with the 15-year-old, to sleeping together. They're going to bed. And then she starts seeing something in the room, and it's one of the ghosts. And it's slowly walking over and over to her. And she's laying there. She's not laying with the 15-year-old. She's laying with another dude, her friend's boyfriend. He's staying the night there because he's afraid he can't go home. And and this ghost starts grabbing his foot and starts sucking his foot and his toes, and it's so gross. And she's yelling, "Wake up, wake up, wake up." And when he wakes up, he looks down, and it's Mia, not the ghost, sucking on his foot. And he's like, "What are you doing?" And kicks her off, and she's like, "What? The ghost was sucking on your foot." He's like, "No, you were." She just totally saw something different in it. So that's kind of the scary parts that we get into this movie. That's kind of the horror elements into it. And so they want to go ahead and get this hand over to their house on the next party so they can do some more possession games again. And it's at Riley and Jade's house. Those are the brother and sister, and Mia is their friend. She's the main character. She's the one that, when she touched it again this time, she believes that she sees her late mother's soul, and she's the one that's communicating with her. And at the very end, Riley wants to do it, but Jade's sister's like, "No, you are too young. You can't do it." And then she goes into the other room, and then Mia's like, "You can do it for 50 seconds only." And they're like, "Oh, okay, I'm going to do it." And so Riley reaches out his hand and grabs it and says, "Talk to me." And then all of a sudden he sees something and he says, "I let you in." But he was so young, this powerful spirit was able to control him more because he was young. And he starts smashing his head on the table in front of him, and his blood's going out everywhere. He even reaches in his eyes and starts to pull out one of his eye out of his socket. And they're like, "No." And then the chair slides across the room to another table in the corner of it, and he just starts headbutting it 2-3 times, and blood's going everywhere. His sister Jade runs in because she hears all the commotion. She's like, "What's going on?" And as his last time, he slams his head down on the corner of the table. She puts her hand there and stops it and breaks her hand on the table. And the next thing you know, he is in the hospital, and the cops are called, and everyone's just flipping out. Mia grabs the hand and puts it in her bag and takes it home with her. And when she gets to her house, Mia starts using the hand by herself, talking to the ghost of her mother. She wants to know where Riley's soul is because he's not getting better in the hospital. Her mother shows him Riley's soul is being feasted on by multiple spirits. He's in agony pain forever. So she decides to take the hand to the hospital because she thinks the door was left open when he used it, that they didn't blow out the candle to shut the door. So they put the hand in Riley's hand and says, "Talk to him." And they blow out the candle. And then they say, maybe it didn't work. And so they do it again. Puts the hand in Riley's hand and says, "Talk to him." And then they blow out the candle, thinking that it worked, but not knowing later on that when Riley did wake up, he starts to try to kill himself again. This time he starts banging his head into the back of the wall, and blood's coming out and it's dripping everywhere, and he starts licking and trying to drink his own blood. And then Mia's back at her house and she's seeing visions of her mother. And then a ghost attacks her in her room and she can't get off of it. And her dad's trying to break the door down because he hears Mia struggling in there. And it reminded him of when his wife committed suicide. She was behind the door and he couldn't get it open. And then he finally breaks through, and Mia's laying there with nobody on her, and she's struggling. She reaches out for some scissors on the floor, and I already knew what was going to happen next. As her dad goes to grab her off the floor, she grabs the scissors and stabs him right in the neck and pulls it out, and blood just starts flowing out. Next thing you know, she's calling Jane, and she's saying, "Hey, come on over. I need to tell you something." And so she leaves her brother at the hospital, but Mia was tricking her. She wanted Jade out of the hospital, and when she was leaving, Mia was going into her brother. and then she grabs Riley and puts him in a wheelchair and then wheels him out of the hospital. She's wheeling him to the highway where there's cars that's flying by, and she's on the edge of the highway, and she's looking at all the traffic coming, and all of a sudden you see a car come down and they swerve and they hit something, and then when it pans out you see Mia laying on the ground. Looks like she's dead, but then she gets up and then she looks at the wheelchair and the wheelchair is empty. She walks into the hospital and she walks by. She sees her dad. She yells out for her dad. She sees Riley and he's getting better. Riley's mom and Jade is there. And then she looks in the mirror and she's not there. And the lights in the hospital slowly start going to black, turning off, turning off. She runs to her father. He gets in the elevator. The lights turn out and it's all dark. Cut, credit, end scene. So obviously there's a lot more that goes on in that movie, but that was pretty much it right there. And people say it's the most scariest movie in a long time. I don't think the movie was scary. It maybe had some intense moments into it, but overall, I mean, nobody died in the movie except for at the very end, and you can take the ending different ways. It did leave it open and made you think what happened at the end of the movie, because why was she was wanted to kill Riley to stop his pain and suffering from the ghost feasting on his soul, but then she took her own life. She jumped in front of the she's dead. So Mia's dead in this at the end of this movie. But I guess you want to interpret it however you want. Grieving over, the loss of your parent is hard enough. And they kind of threw that into this movie. I wouldn't even call this a horror movie or a possession movie. They kind of did a possession a little bit different, I guess, of how they would do it. But I mean, if you guys seen it, you tell me what you think in the comment section below. I just think that it was a good movie. It's not the best horror movie of the year by far. I mean, people are talking this shit, saying it's the scariest movie ever and stuff. I mean, what fucking movies have you been watching for real? Like, I would like to know. Tell me down below. I'm not saying this movie's not good. This movie's pretty good. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. And that's fucking, glad I watched it. And really glad that I watched it. At least I almost gave it a 6. But, the ending I did, it was a good, satisfying ending to a thriller suspense movie. You kind of just hint. I mean, the practical effects was pretty good in it, but it was just like really one scene with Riley fucking himself up, hitting himself over and over again. He looked all kind of bloody. Some of the ghost scenes, some of the makeup on there was pretty cool, but it was too far in between. They were hardly on the screen. Yeah, but if you guys enjoyed this movie, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. I'm rambling on long enough. Thank you for joining me in the Haunted Basement Studio. Remember to comment and tell me your ranking 1 out of 10 in the comment section below, and I will reply to every one of you mother effers. Triple B's out of the Haunted Basement Studio.